Hi, family. I'm Antonia, grateful recovering addict. Oh, I want to thank you, Anthony, because I was so nervous. I really didn't want to speak because after hearing some of the speakers last night, this morning, and they had a topic and they could go right to every text. And I went upstairs and I started reading my books, and I read 3 times each book, you know, on the 6th step and the 7th step. And by the time I got on the elevator and got downstairs, I didn't remember a thing. Not a thing. So, Anthony, you opened the door for me to just tell my story. You know, because I'm not a teacher. I'm just a person that was fortunate enough to find a 12-step program. And I found that program in 1972. I found it when I was in the penitentiary. And they came in with H&I. And from there, I started to learn how to look at myself, learn how to live. I was a kid that I always tell my story, once upon a time, a long, long time ago. I was born in the jungles of Washington, D.C., where dog eat dog, each man strives for himself. My mother was a prostitute and my father was a pimp. So that's the story I grew up with. I grew up just doing whatever you want to do. It's like the Addams family. We do what we want to do. And so I had no idea about any morals or anything. By the time I was 8, I had been with my father. By the time I was 8, I had had shots and dope. By the time I was 10, I was put in a institution because my mother and father didn't come back from court. And my grandmother came up to the room. She said, they went to Lexington, Kentucky. In them days, my parents were heroin addicts. So that's the only place they sent heroin addicts. And she said, but you can't stay here. So the next thing I know, the 2 biggest white police I ever seen in my life was coming to take me out, a little girl, to Junior Village. And Junior Village is a place right outside of Washington and Maryland where they take homeless children. So I kind of grew up that way. But the beautiful thing about my life is that I always knew something better. I always fixated about, for some reason, going to heaven. No, purgatory. You know, I'm Catholic, from a Catholic background, so it was purgatory for me. I just wanted to go to purgatory. And I knew I wasn't going to reach it to heaven because I had already sinned so much. Now, can you imagine a little girl by 10 knowing that she's not going to make it to heaven? She just wants to get to purgatory. So, you know, I had learned how to do a whole lot of things, and I had did a whole lot of things. They gave me the 6th step, and don't ask for something before you're ready for it. The most important thing in life for me is that I have been wretched. I have done everything imagined that a young woman or a young girl could do. And I had a lot of things, like I said, I got clean in 1972. And back then, they didn't have all this. So I was sent upstate New York to Garrison, New York, sent to a program up there. And after I had manipulated, lied, perjured myself, did all those things, and the court sent me up there. You know, I'm kind of running over my story because I told it so much, it seems like, in all these years, you know, and so a lot of people know me, some don't, but I had like I told the priest, like I just told my story last week somewhere, and I said, bless me, Father, for I have sinned. I've broken all of God's commandments. So if you know anything about God's commandments and you broke all of them, so you know now who I am. I done broke all of them. So the priest told me to say so many Hail Marys and Our Fathers and this and that, and God would forgive me. And that's what I did. But something inside of me would not let that rest. And I went back to the priest. And since we knew each other on a personal level, Father Ray said, Tony, sometimes God forgives you, but you have to make yourself right with man. And that means you have to tell the authorities what happened. Because I already confessed to him on everybody else. So he's telling me to make this confession to the law. And I followed his advice, and I did it. And if you know anything about someone who, I didn't tell on everything I've done, I just told on the one incident. But when you do that, they think you done told on everything you've been into. So my life became in danger, and they had to start moving me. They moved me from 1010 and sent me to Alliston, and then sent me to another federal youth center. And that's where I got introduced to the 12 steps. Sometimes life just takes us in a path, like you were talking about your life. It just takes you in a path. And at 70 now, I can see the path. You know, if you've been around 70 years, you can see where God brought you from. And I am overwhelmed. I am so overwhelmed. I'm just so overwhelmed with God's hands on my life, because he took that incident. Who would know that that little girl was going to get in all that trouble and did all those things, was going to end up here today? That's what I'm talking about, a miracle. And that's why I feel so overwhelmed, so overwhelmed. And I have to say this part about my life. You know, in those days, it wasn't popular. And I say this because I need to say it. It wasn't popular to have long hair, different color eyes, and to be light-skinned. You were really gonna catch it. Wasn't nothing cute about being mixed, nothing. Nothing cute about it. Because you were too light to be this and too dark to be that. So you caught in a catch-22. And life was not easy. So on top of all of that happened to me, I was born from a mixed relationship. And I had to deal with that all my life. And that was not easy, not at all. So life has changed. Times have changed. I've seen it change. I've seen people that I've seen one week look one way, and the next week they look totally different. You know, and when I was born and raised, you couldn't do it that quick. I mean, people couldn't just change themselves like that. If they could, I would have. But they just didn't have all the things they have today, you know. So on my journey, I didn't come in telling the truth. I didn't come in, you know, philosophizing everything. And like the brother said, I just was trying to stay clean. And in them days, they really wasn't going through the steps and all that like now, you know. So it was a lot of things. Ain't nobody talk about, my sponsor didn't tell me, well, you got to do this step, that step. I mean, we just held on to each other. You know, nobody really had any time. We just kind of held on to each other and tried to guide each other the best way we could. But anyway, after the program, I thought I had arrived. Okay. I thought I had arrived. So yeah, I was married, and my husband had a bright idea. He was going to become a preacher, and we were coming to Georgia. And, you know, this was the New York of the South. And so we came to Georgia. And you know what happened. When I got here, I started feeling, when I came around, there was no happy hour. People didn't go to bars and get chicken wings and all like that. So I'm thinking that I can go ahead. I didn't try to find no meetings either. I said, yeah, I can go over to Cisco's and eat some chicken wings with the rest of the people I was working with. What's wrong with eating chicken wings and dancing? Not a thing if you're not an addict. So I started doing that. But before I did that, I had already made it on Oprah Winfrey Show twice, Hour Magazine, Essence Magazine, Fortune Magazine. So see, they had used me to do all these talks, you know. And when I would tell my story, it would do something to me because in them days, we didn't have anybody putting us back together. You know, you get up there and you talk about incest and somebody ejaculating in your mouth. What do you do with that after the show? Nowhere to go after the show. So I had to set with my feelings. And I had to set with those kind of emotions. So I am so happy that we go get outside help now. Yes. Because when I used that time after Cisco's and after had being all over the place, and I picked up the shame and the guilt, the shame of me being with my father, it hit me. I couldn't, it was like such pain that I didn't know what to do with it. This little girl, I still was that little girl. Although I'm grown up, I was still that little 8-year-old who had to get out of the bed, let her mother turn her trick and get in the bed with my father. So that's a shameful thing. Somebody say, well, how did you relapse at that time? I had so much shame. And nobody there was to put me back together again. And so I finally got outside help. And I went to therapy, regular therapy. And that didn't seem to do what I needed. Then I went to primal therapy. Someone suggests that the therapist suggests that I really need deep, intense therapy, or I was going to use again. And that's what I did. I went to primal therapy. And I got deep. She wouldn't let me get out of the box. I had to throw up because I never, really expressed my emotions before. And I could taste, smell. I hated cigarettes. If a guy wanted to kiss me and he smelled like cigarettes, I would just go off. I could never really be a real kind of a hoe because I looked like I could be, but my stomach was so weak. I just had such a weak stomach. Now I tried, but after I spit up all over, you gonna say no. So I wasn't forced to go that way because of my stomach, and I had all these things going on. So when I go to primal therapy, I get a little better. But I used to, when I leave her office, I can remember driving and I could feel the wind on my skin because it felt like someone had peeled the skin off of me. And I finally learned how to get in touch with my emotions without using drugs. Now, I didn't buy scratch off, but I bought every donut Krispy Kreme had. Every donut, every fast food place. If I stop at this McDonald's, by the time I got home, there was 4 or 5 McDonald's. And I bought the same thing. And I used to take donuts to the meeting. I take them a dozen and I eat a dozen on the way. So when I get to the meeting, here's the donuts. You want, oh, no, I'm not gonna even tell you. But now, your fingers turned gray. I ended up being 450 some pounds in recovery. In recovery, because I had to deal with my emotions. I had to deal with my shortcomings, my anger, my resentment, the pain. Do you know what pain goes with that? When you hate your father, you want to kill him, no matter what he did to me. He was a dope fiend, he was sick. You know, you talking about forgiveness? I had to forgive. The one thing that the therapist taught me is that I had to write a letter, go to the grave and forgive him and my mother in order for me to recover. These are things I had to let go. So the brother was right. We can't walk around here with resentments. We can't walk around here with, I don't like you, you ain't this, or you don't have that. I had to really get down to what was going on with me in the Delta. So now, I'm just fast forwarding, I have 34 years clean. And 6 husbands later. This is the part of the 6th step I can talk about. If I can't talk about nothing, I can talk about husbands. I done had white ones, black ones, short ones, tall ones. I do not discriminate. I had one husband, we both were iron workers together, and he says, you don't have no feelings. And I looked at him, he happened to be a white boy. I looked at him and, what do you mean? But I felt so empty when he said it because he meant it. I had no feelings. And you talking about, him talking about, he had women, I felt the same way, but I never thought it was possible for a woman to have one man. Because he couldn't fulfill all my needs. And I wasn't going to force the brother to fulfill all my needs. Always. Grandma said, there's a mighty poor fox that has one hole. Now, what was my grandmother telling me? Hey, where I came from, that's what they did. Everybody had somebody around the corner. Everybody had children from somebody else. You know, so that's what I'm talking about. Let me tell you what happened to me when I really started working the 6th step. My husband died. He was like 20 some years older than me. And I thought I was going to get his money. So don't be waiting on nobody to die. Because may be disappointed. I'm in this fellowship. I have 15 years clean, so I decided to go gorilla hunting. And I always said, when I came here, I said, the nigga got gold all up in here. I'm saying, I can't, got gold teeth. Do you know I found one with a whole grill? Fell in love. I left the husband, went to Boulevard. Y'all know over there in Boulevard in the hood, that country man put something on me that the doctor couldn't take off. I was messed up with 15 years clean. I was totally messed up. I mean, this brother had me living in a house with rats. It didn't matter. This brother had me, I gotta share this one with you, in the bed with a python. Now I'm clean. I don't know what kind of love you call that. Is that bestial? Jungle kind of love. I don't know no name pay for that one. That's my sponsor. She would know. Hey, so I don't want to hear what you will do or won't do without time. I wish I did get a scratch off. I'd have been scratching. But I had to go gorilla hunting. And I got me a gorilla. I got one and he ripped me a new you know what. I was so devastated and so humiliated. I had some sponsees to come from Texas because what's that preacher? He was TJ, yeah, he was coming to town. So they all wanted to intervene on me to take me to TD Jakes. Okay, so they come get me, take me to TD Jakes. So they preaching and hollering and screaming. And they had $100 line, $200 line. They pulled me in one of them lines. By the time Jake finished with me, oh, I was spitting and foaming the whole thing. They just knew the relationship was over with their sponsor and Tarzan. So by the time Jake's airplane probably got off the ground, I was right back on Boulevard. I was right there with time. And then he had a newcomer, and I beat up a newcomer and called the bondsman for myself, because I know they're gonna put me in jail. I was setting it up. Herb Green, I worked for him. I was setting it up because I know I was going to jail. So with time in this program, we can do some crazy things. Some crazy thing. You alone. And you think crazy too. You know, you got all them things going on. So after, and I got sponsees that went through that with me. They went through this with me and they did not throw me away. They loved me until I could love myself. Until I could love myself. But like I said, the old man didn't leave me no money. When the insurance people call me, I'm thinking, oh yeah, I'm fat as a rump roast. But I was said, I got all this money coming, I'm gonna be all right. They said, I'm sorry, Miss Holmes, but you're not the beneficiary. Oh, y'all talking about sick. I couldn't even get up, run, walk, nowhere. Couldn't even go get no donuts. I was sick. I said, now I know this old man didn't do this to me. Then they asked me, well, could you give me the phone number to this person and that person? There was 2 of his children. He had 10, but his wife had died years ago. I said, I don't know them. I don't know where they live. I don't know their number. I don't know nothing. So with that, I got depressed, went in a fetal position. But the beautiful thing about this is that God knows you way, way, way down the road. Fast forward. My husband died. I buried him on a Monday. On a Friday. Now, I've been every religion there is too. I'm Catholic, Baptist, Wicca, Mormon, been everything. Tarzan switched me over to Islam. Okay. That's one good thing he did for me. I follow him. I followed him right into Islam, okay? And we, you know, that story too. But anyway, God knows who we are and what we need. So I buried him. I was so mad. I wanted to dig him out of that grave. I was mad. And I was devastated. So Friday, a man called me up that was our exterminator. You know, he killed the bugs in the house. And he said, sister, I call him the bug man. He says, sister, I'd like to know what kind of husband you looking for and this and that. Me being a painter, I said, I either want a painter, electrician, a carpenter. You know, I want somebody to keep it in the trade, you know. I want somebody that can work. So he said, I thought he had a guy for me from the masjid or something. And so he said, well, I'm a handyman, but he said, I'm interested in you. He said, I would like to marry you, but I don't want you to tell nobody yet. This was at Juma, after Juma. And I said, you're interested in me? I wasn't interested in him though, because he was tall and skinny. But anyway, soon as he hung up, boy, I made them phone calls. Wahida, assalamu alaikum. And 4 months, 10 days later, according to the law of Islam, I was married to this brother. He did not touch me. I did not kiss him. I didn't, no contact. I married somebody that had to be Allah who picked him for me, because I did not pick this brother. And I had to really work that 6th step. Because character defects, you know who we are, sisters. I had a mouth, and my head used to turn around, spin around. And I was tall and big. So it wasn't too much a brother was gonna say to me. You know, I mean, I outweighed this brother by 350, I outweighed him. So. And I had to put the program in practice. I took my book out and I started to look at the 6th step, and I started looking at my character defects. I started looking at my shortcomings, which was many. And I had to learn how to, you don't have to say everything you're thinking. You don't have to say everything you're thinking. And I needed to stop tearing down my men, you know, because we can tear down a brother, can't we, brothers? We can tear you down. We can look at you and tear you down. And I had to learn all of that. And I had to learn how to get rid of my resentments, my shortcomings, my character defect that was many. And I've been on the 6th step along with other steps for going on 11 years. But that has been the step that has saved me. That has been the step that has turned my life around. Because when you can look at you and look at your faults, and you have to be entirely ready to have God remove them. I couldn't remove them by myself. I had to have God to remove them. He is the only one that could remove them, because the 6th step is a lifelong step. It's a step that we're gonna have to do for the rest of our life. It's maintenance. We're gonna have to, I had to talk about stealing. I had to talk about dishonesty. I had to look at all that with time, because it doesn't matter who you stealing from. That's right. And we can rationalize and justify, well, I ain't gonna steal from you, but I'm gonna go to this store, and once I buy $2,000 worth of paint, I'm gonna get me $200 worth of paintbrushes. You know, that's the kind of stealing. Or I'm gonna get this specialty paint right here, because I need this right here. And I done paid them all of that. So we do that. And my sponsor died. And I had to ask a dear friend to be my sponsor, which is Isla. She don't saying that. And the reason I had to ask Isla, because she knew me and she knew some of my character defects. And I didn't want to have to go through all of that again, you know. This has been a wonderful life for me. And I am just so happy that I have you guys in my life. And I'm so happy that you keep me caring and up to date what's really going on, you know. And I just thank you, brother, so much for your story. You are so funny. And you helped me get through this because my stomach was tearing me up. I said, I can't put the verse with the steps and I can't do this with that. And this brother just came and told his story like I do. And it made it so much easier. You know, I may not never be able to do it the way some other people do it. Never. I'm not going to try that again. I'm just going to be me. I'm going to be happy with who I am. I'm going to do me. Just like that brother said, he going to do him. I'm going to do me. And with that, I want to thank you, brothers and sisters. I want for my sisters and brothers what I want for myself. Inshallah. Thank you.